Hey everyone, Anya here at Our Gabled Home, where I like to share tips for a simple, healthy, beautiful, and sustainable living. And in today's video, I want to talk about how easy it is to incorporate probiotic foods into your daily meals and into your diet. So we all know now that probiotics are really good for gut health, and while we can always buy a little jar of probiotic pills, I believe that it's actually better to ingest them with our food, because that's really how they occur. And humans have had a long relationship with probiotic foods, with actual beneficial bacteria in foods. So let me show you really easy ways how you can add probiotic foods to all the meals in your day. One easy way to get the day started is with apple cider vinegar. Now I have this in this bottle here that I take to my local food co-op because they have it in bulk, and so I just let them weigh it and then I fill it in, so I don't need to buy a new jar every time or a new bottle every time. So this is what this is. You can just put about 2 tablespoons in a glass of water. Some people like to add some lemon, or you can add a little bit of honey. Honey's also really good, or some stevia, and just swish that down. That gets you going in the morning. That's also another drink that you can have before meals. You can add it anytime throughout the day if you just feel like a little pick-me-up from the apple cider vinegar. And the next one is yogurt. I make my yogurt. I'll be linking a recipe below how you can make it yourself. It's so easy. If you haven't started fermenting, I would say start with yogurt, because it's probably the one that makes you feel most successful, and it's the easiest to do and doesn't take much. So you can, just put some yogurt in a bowl, add some granola, some fruit to it, drizzle some honey over it, or some maple syrup. So that's a really good way to add it to your breakfast. I like to just have a little bit on the side, and then I add whatever I feel like I'm in the mood for. Another good thing to add is kefir. Some people call it kefir. I've heard different ways to pronounce it. I call it kefir. Now this one is store-bought because I have had live kefir grains, but with our small family, we don't actually go through enough of this so that I find myself needing to have kefir all the time. And while I really like it, we just don't go through it all the time, and then our grains suffer. And so that's why I will buy it from grass-fed cows. It's a really good quality. It's a little bit pricey, but I like it. So that's another good way. You can make it into a smoothie, or you can just pour it in a bowl just like yogurt and add some fruit to it, some granola, some nuts, whatever you like, and that could be a breakfast. Now for lunch, you can add sauerkraut. And here's a jar of a recent sauerkraut that I kept underneath our house. We have a crawl space. Don't want to call it basement because that sounds fancier than what it really is. But we have this crawl space down there that's dark and cool and a little bit moist. And so I actually keep this down there for somewhere around 5 or 6 weeks to increase the level of beneficial bacteria in the sauerkraut. I make this by myself. I'll be linking a recipe down below in the description box. It's also really easy. You only need 2 ingredients, cabbage and salt, and then you can always add other things. The little black things here that you see are juniper berries, so that's something that's completely optional. If you're having a sandwich, it's really nice to just put a little sauerkraut on top of your other ingredients in your sandwich. If you're having, let's say, soup for lunch, you can have that on top of your soup, or you can just have a little bowl by the side and just add that to it. And that's a really good way to add gut healthy bacteria to your lunch. Another thing you can do is use miso. There's different types of miso. There's rice-based, garbanzo bean-based, and barley-based miso. This one here is, let me see what it is, sweet-tasting brown rice miso. And obviously you can just make that into a soup. Now with everything that's been fermented, and has life bacteria in it, you don't want to use boiling water for miso soup to not kill. I mean, you can still drink it and still be delicious, but you want to keep the water hot but not boiling to keep all the beneficial bacteria alive. And so you can do that, and just like the Japanese stir it into a little bit of soup, you can also add this. If you're making, let's say, a pureed broccoli soup, you can add this. It'll add a really nice depth of flavor to it. So that's a good thing to do. You can make delicious dressings with it. I have super yummy miso tahini dressing, and again, I'll be putting the recipe link in the description box below so you can check it out and see if you like it. It's really good on everything. Something else that doesn't necessarily come to mind when we think about probiotic foods is olives. Now, I again get my olives from this natural food co-op here in my area, and what's nice about these is that they're local and they're actually raw, but because they are rich in probiotics, you can just grab a handful, and either these are not pitted, they have a better taste, I find. If they contain the pit, you can take that out, you can cut them up and put them over your salad, you can put them on your sandwich, or I just like to have a handful before my dinner and add a little bit of probiotics that way. Sourdough bread. Sourdough bread is obviously fermented, and what happens in the sourdough bread is you bake it at about 350 degrees. That's how I bake mine. It will get to 350 degrees on the outside, but it usually doesn't get that hot all the way on the inside. So not only is this a whole grain, super good homemade bread, but it also probably has a lot of live bacteria still in it. So that's another thing that you can do to add probiotics to your diet. And then there's foods like tempeh and tofu that add probiotics to your diet. I don't have those right here, but something else that we sometimes don't think about is chocolate. You can also get raw chocolate. That tends to be a little bit pricey. I like the really dark chocolate. The less sugar and milk you have in your chocolate, the more cacao content you actually have, the better your chocolate will be. It's a matter of taste. I didn't used to like dark chocolate that much, and then I gradually went darker and darker. I started with 60%, and now I find 60% even way too sweet, and now I'm somewhere between 80 and 85%. It depends on the brand that I buy. This one is a chocolate from Ecuador that's really good. So that also adds probiotics to your diet. So I hope that you could see that it's really easy to add fermented foods, probiotics to your diet throughout the day. You can add a little bit at every meal that you're having, and you'll be constantly adding gut-friendly bacteria that will keep your gut healthy and keep you healthy. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I upload new content every week. You can also go to my blog at ourgabledhome.com, where I have all these tips and recipes. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.